fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up top!
Oh my god! Oh. Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
It's very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go! Oh no!
That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
At 20:01 here in the United Kingdom, it is 2021 and it is your third round of the iRacing Grand Prix Series. Everything culminates at this point, and round 3 is a track which has been round 3 once upon a time in its past. The Autodromo Internazionale Enzo Edina Ferrari, otherwise known as Imola. It's a 41-lap dash today around Emilia-Romagna's most brilliant and awesome track out there in the world today. My name's Jake Sperry. I'm joined alongside by Cameron Dance here for action brought to you today of a championship which often seems to bring the excitement and bring the unexpected. And a track like this is one of those classic tracks that you could say you could put on a marquee, you could put on a pedestal, Cam, and is one which you really cannot look at in any other light than it is brilliant.
Yes, certainly. You can't fault the thing at all. It just provides really, really good racing. It doesn't matter what car you're in, whether it's an open wheeler, whether it's a tin top, whether it's a GT. It doesn't matter. It always seems to throw up something that's going to create an entertaining race. And even then, it's still going to be an entertaining drive regardless from a driver's perspective. So this track's just got everything you could ask for in a racetrack, and it's something that we're going to see again today.
Absolutely, as we just take a look at highlights then of what happened 1 week ago in the dense fog of Twin Ring Motegi. It was one race where I think a lot of people were hoping to get good ideas. There was incidents already off the start. There you could see a little bit of contact in the middle and about 5 or 6 getting collected that we missed off the start. But then there's the big one then at turn 3. Jorge Martinez finding the gravel with Luke Dowding, and there's the contact that you can see, which really put end to a lot of issues over the course of racing action. You can see just grabbing the brakes, just unable to shift down quick enough, and there were the troubles. Moving on forward though into this one, it was all about those two drivers, and this is going to be the pass that you see out here on circuit. Looking around the outside in the Doraemon helmet there is Matteo Ugolotti, who found his way down the inside, trying to pick up a move, trying to go up and under there on Javi Rose, and ultimately just having to play a waiting game here before finally getting the move done, Cam.
Yes, certainly, and he took quite a while to finally get it, but then threw it up the inside at the following corner after turn 2 and managed to get the job done finally, but albeit it was short-lived because he ended up getting a bit of damage from his front wing, and then Javi Rose making a few uncanny errors as well and going off the same corner about 3 times across the race. So it was a little bit odd to see the mistakes that he made, and then you've obviously got pit stops cycling through that happened, and Ugolotti unfortunately having to get front wing changes on multiple occasions and deciding to have to run a 2-stop strategy, but it wasn't quite enough in the end.
Well, it wasn't in the end, but you can see this is some of the traffic that he had to deal with coming out of his first pit stop, moving over towards his second. You can see the long train of cars that he has to try and find a way through and get by, and it was always going to be a difficult challenge to get through when you're on fresher tyres compared to this, and this is where the issues all start to come about. He'll get Kent Nielsen next in terms of his challenge, and he just gives himself a little wiggle to say, you know what, I'm here, let me through, and he gets that position then all nicely sorted out. And then again, another little look down the inside to pick one up. This at the very, very iconic turn 10, and that is Nicola Lair. He's now trying to line up and make this move, and does so down the inside without any worries at all. That's Javi Rose off there on the side as well, and that's how it happened. Just losing the back end there on the medium compound tyres, and that is 2 for the price of 1 then for Matteo Ugolotti, who made his way through and charged absolutely magnificently in his final stint, Cam.
He certainly did. He gave it everything he possibly could, and then we saw a few others making mistakes, just getting caught up by wheel spin or locking up and doing various other things that unfortunately had some downsides to their race. But as much as Ugolotti tried, he couldn't come away with the win in the end, and Benjamin Lindsay was your race victor for round 2.
He certainly was, and he had a flawless performance. That was Nimcross Jr., who is the best in terms of iRacing penalty giving out on the service, but Benjamin Lindsay putting together a performance which he'll be very, very happy about. Where are we today, though? Where we are in the heart of Italy, zooming down in to Emilia-Romagna province here. See the likes of Milan, Rome, Marseille there in France over to the left-hand side, but Imola is where we are at, just about 60 kilometers away from San Marino. Of course, this used to be the San Marino Grand Prix. As we zoom on into a truly iconic circuit, it's pretty much a circuit built on the side of a town, and it's something you don't often get to see anymore. Some famous corners, the Tamburello chicane, Villeneuve, Tosa's hairpin, Acqua Minerale is such a unique section of track, and then the fabled Variante Alta and Ravazza end the laps around here. It's a 4.9 kilometer circuit. You got 470 meters on the run towards turn number 1, and it is got one of the few distinctions of being an iconic track by being anti-clockwise. You don't get many anti-clockwise circuits in the world of racing. But let's take ourselves on board for a flying lap around this place. We're going here with the very iconic white, blue, and the yellow as well of Jorge Martinez as he flies around this circuit. The long front stretch then leads to Tamburello. That small kink there was turn number 1. You've got to jam on the brakes here and trust in your car placement through 2, 3, and 4 because there are anti-cut curbs all over the place through this section. Now you start to charge and attack now to the Villeneuve chicane. 5 and 6. It's a very aggressive entry or a quick entry into a slower section on the right, and then down into third gear for the Tosa hairpin. All about trying to put the power down as early as you can on the exit, but the car will always want to spin over to that in-hand side. Now over towards this Piratella corner, 90 degrees left, 6th gear being taken and just about holding it on the circuit before you descend down the hill into Acqua Minerale. Of course, George Russell found himself in the walls under safety car there, but up the hill, out of the exit, the next charge comes to this very, very tight chicane here, the Variante Alta. It's a tougher section, and if you saw there on the top right of your screen, all 4 tyres were off the road on that attempt through that section. That's how aggressive these drivers are going to be today. Down the hill, breaking into the Ravazzas. Ravazza 1 is very tough, and then it's all about waiting through Ravazza 2 to attack the exit and attack another lap of this circuit. It goes by in the blink of an eye, and it is so quick indeed. And to everyone who is watching, of course, on YouTube and of course on Facebook as well, hello, how are you doing? You're having a wonderful time, but qualifying is pretty much underway at this stage. We've got about 3 minutes remaining here in this session, and Matteo Ugolotti has the fastest lap, 1:16.133, has done himself another 1:34 we see on our timing screens right now, but a number of names looking to try and get things working, Cam, and it is a stacked field today. You've got yourself a full 24 cars looking to try and prove that they have what it takes.
Certainly have a full Formula One grid here at Imola today, so it's going to be very, very good to see what happens here. And you've also got a few cameo appearances happening. You've got the likes of Diego Oliveira, and you've got Hugo Prieto and a few others deciding to come out of the woodwork. So it's going to be interesting to see what this race is going to throw up as far as competition goes. And who knows, we might see Ugolotti finally get someone challenging him.
First time this season we've seen Matt Wood in these races. He's inside the top 10 in the championship, racing earlier splits, but he feels like today he's got to make something happen of it today. 1:16 to try and beat, puts a 16.6 down on the board. Not good enough to improve. Stays in 5th position with 2 minutes remaining here in qualifying. Someone else who's maybe a little bit of a surprise to see here in today is Galen Dimov, who's trying to make things happen today. But we're looking at John Pat Kelly right now in the TQ engineering car, making his way through the second sector right now, Cam. But Galen Dimov, of course, brother Peter, is responsible for the virtual racing school. So that shows you all you need to know about how very quick the Dimovs are, because they are one of the few, I would say, companies out there who have pace and know what's needed for sim racing, and that is some telemetry help.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's a little bit interesting to actually see another demo of it out there, and certainly racing today. It's not very often you actually see Peter in the car, or his brother for that matter, but they're certainly out there and giving it a go as Galen. So it'll be interesting to see what happens and how his race is going to go. But John Pat Kelly coming through the final section of corners and coming down start finish line to finish what is going to be one of his few laps, and it's going to be his final lap as well. He's going to cross the line and for himself P23 on the grid.
a 119.3 with that run over. It's a 19 flat actually get over the line, so able to get something working of it. But that's the famous memorial that you see on your screen, ladies and gentlemen, down at Tamburello Corner of the legendary Ayrton Senna, put in by iRacing as a tribute to one of the most legendary Formula One world champions that has ever graced the scene, as we do race 41 laps here today. We are just a couple of moments away then from getting ourselves onto the starting grid, and we will be able to run down through and see who starts where for today's race. And well, there are some surprises when it comes to who is battling for what, but ultimately everyone's going to be hoping that they have the results in the back pocket. Matteo Ugolotti, 116.134, starts on pole position with Diogo Oliveira alongside him from Brazil. Javi Roche starts this one on the second row of the grid. He has Tapio Markala for company with Matt Wood and Jorge Martinez 5th and 6th position. Hugo Preto starts in 7th place with Reynaldo Augusto in the F1 Apps car in 8th position. John Miller III starts from 9th position, making it All-American on the 5th row. Fan favourite David Weisbeck will be starting this one from 10th.
It's Amuli Vainanen starting out of 11th with Luke Dowding joining him on the 6th row, in 12th. Then you're going to have Emilio Stensu and Thomas Knoll on row 7. Row 8, Thomas Vieck and Jacob Swiderski, followed by Stephen Chantal and Bruno Canavas on row 9. And then row 10, round out the top 20, you're going to have Galen Dimov and Kent Nielsen. And then rounding out the rest of your field is going to be Rago Fionn, Klaus Semitz, John Pat Kelly, and Pablo Rodriguez Seed.
Yeah, and Pablo Rodriguez, the only driver in the field not to set a time. Those are the track conditions, 34 degrees track temperature. That is pretty nice for these drivers today as they race in midday conditions, just about 25 to 2 at this stage right now. And of course, that run to turn number 1 is going to be so very, very key. Matteo Ugolotti is the championship leader coming into this one. Number 1 on the car also means he has the highest I rating of anybody else. But Diogo Oliveira is a former pro category driver when it comes to Formula vehicles. You've got the likes of Javi Rose, who's definitely got pace. Matt Wood was up there in the championship fighting right to the end as well. And you've also got the likes of Hugo Preto, who definitely knows how to turn the wheel, so to speak. But we're getting ourselves ready then. The lights procedure will start. 41 laps then here at Imola. They get themselves underway right about now. And let's get ourselves going. Markala slow off the line, and it's a great start by Martinez. They all form up in the middle. Veyranen doing okay off the line, but Ugolotti's got the run that he needs. Javi Roche then trying to dive down the inside and get second position. Now you've got Matt Wood trying to fight for third. Oliveira struggling then off of the start, and that is a good run, but look at the struggle that Wood's got all of a sudden. Here comes Markala round the outside at Villeneuve trying to make this one happen. Almost tire-to-tire contact as they go on through, and now in towards the hairpin. They start to battle. It is Ugolotti who's got the lead, and now Martinez wants down the inside of Markala. Every which way you look, there's a battle happening.
It certainly is, especially just inside this top 5 where they're all shuffling each other around. It wasn't an ideal start at all for Matt Wood, who's dropped a few places, and Michael even dropping further back even. So it's certainly been a very, very good start for those two at the front, but it hasn't been for those behind.
No, it's been a pretty much more quiet run from those at the back of the field so far, but all these battles, they will run up towards the likes of the Variante Alta, which they're going through right now. They can see here, good battle going on as John Miller III wants through on Reynaldo Augusto. This the battle for 7th and 8th place. A little look in the mirrors on the brakes into the first of the 2 Ravazza corners, but nothing doing. This is a downforce track. This is a tougher track than others to try and make overtakes happen. Thomas Knoll just behind will be definitely looking to try and get his run as well. Lap 1 already scored then in the book, and it becomes all about attacking then on this run. Here comes Thomas Knoll, hoping that he's got a chance. He's not going to find it just yet, but everyone looking a little bit antsy then off of these starts, because they know if they're not making places early, they're going to have to be waiting for pit stops if they're going to hope to try and get through. Galotti already away to the tune of 6:10.
They're starting to pull a nice little gap as Ugolotti at the moment over Javi Roche. Just seems to not quite be able to catch up at the moment. Oliveira's managed to recover a little bit at the moment, but still work, but that's
Renato
a spinner.
Augusto who's gone around there and is dropping down the timing stand. So Renato Augusto then a spin out of Toza. It's one of the easiest things to do, and it's why Toza is such an underrated corner in my mind. But let's catch ourselves on the Motum simulation replay, see how this one needed to be broken down. You can see a big lockup in front of him heading through Villeneuve, and this is how easily it can go wrong for Renato Augusto. You can see just trying to go through, transfer of power up the hill, the back steps around, and around you go. It's as easy as that, Cam.
It certainly is. It's very, very easy to do, and it's probably one of the more challenging circuits that's underrated, like you said, in the environment, and sending it up the inside to take another play. Getting past, actually, sorry, by someone up the inside, and you can certainly see it's been a very, very busy few first laps for some of these drivers.
Absolutely, but look at this. You're going to get this draft right back, and DRS activates this lap 3 of the event, and searching then, taking the long route around, trying to make this one happen. Not going to find it on Hugo Pareto. Gets a lot of anti-cut, Kirby does, but he does okay and holds on to the place for the time being. But now with DRS, that flap on the back, it does make a few changes. Into the pits then comes Galen Dimov then in the blue flag racing car. He'll come in, make that stop and try and get himself out and away again once more. But we focus on this battle here in the mid-pack, because just behind that, trying to get into a little bit of a battle here, that is Stanciu and Swiderski here almost side by side. In the bright purple there is one Mr. Jacob Swiderski, and he's going to have to be a little bit cautious here with the way that these drivers want to fight in this mid-pack.
Certainly are, and Thomas Knoll making a mistake on the left-hand side of the track, just getting a little bit too much curve and a little bit too eager on the throttle as well, and having a bit of a half spin. He's managed to get it going again, but he's dropped in behind Thomas Vik, unfortunately.
Yep, so the two Thomases are 15th and 16th at the moment. Here's your top two, Matteo Ugolotti and Javi Rose at this stage. And Javi Rose isn't falling away here from Ugolotti. He's kept the gap at around 6-7 tenths of a second. That DRS on that 1K front stretch is definitely doing its job at the moment, keeping Javi Rose in an arm's reach at this stage. A little bit of side-by-side, I believe, going on for 4th and 5th position. Look at that coming out to the exit. That's Markler and Wood going at it here. Markler, I think, has just got the inside and is going to take that place at Villeneuve. Yes, he does.
Certainly, mate. Had to go the long way around, using a bit of DRS on the way down towards turn number 1, and they ended up going side by side the whole way through the first chicane, but it certainly ended up being in Markler's favour, that's for sure.
Yeah, you can see here Wood on the outside was maybe a little bit more tentative, broke a bit early there, didn't want to fight too wide, but this is the move that Markler tried then in the, I would say, faux Alfa Romeo, trying to dive down the inside here at turn 2 at Tamburello, and Wood's got the inside here for this right-hander, turn 3, but then of course you've got that left 4, and then the next corner's a left-hander, get down the inside at Tamburello, more than likely you've got it coming to Villeneuve.
Certainly, and it's very, very also easy to hold it around the outside there too if you're close enough, but Wood deciding it's a little bit too early to try some risky moves like that, so he's decided to just slot in and behind for the time being. And Javi Rose still continuing to pressure Ugolotti at the front of the field as well. Has DRS open, so he's going to close that gap down, but still no cigar is going to be there, and he's not going to be able to get past in the end.
Well, he's got a fastest lap, and we've got some side-by-side because John Miller III and David Weisbeck battling it out at the moment. Miller trying to look for the inside. Oh, I think he tagged him there, and straight on will have to go Weisbeck here from Cobb Carolina. He'll drop the place and have to take the slowdown penalty as well, so that will allow Luke Dowding the chance to go through, and he's very lucky there. He grabbed the grass, did Luke Dowding. We'll catch this on the Motum simulation replay here to see how this one happens, but this is Weisbeck then finding himself in a bit of trouble there. He gets the DRS, he gets through on Miller III, but the big key here is how does it all go wrong? We'll take a look at this here. Just the smallest tap going on through, it's so easily done, and Weisbeck has to take the trip across the gravel to keep himself in the race.
It certainly did, and it was ever so slight contact that you saw there, and it just unsettled the rear of the car, and unfortunately he had to bail out and go across the sand and end up having to serve a slowdown as well. He's managed to not lose too much time to Miller and Dowding, but he's at least lost 2 places out of that could have been very, very easily his.
Could have very easily have been, but immediately he's trying to go back on the offensive here against Luke Dowding, who gets a much better Avatsa 1, but it's all about being in position. Hugo Pareto there just behind will definitely want to get into the mix and try and attack, and gain that one moving forward. So we'll see how this one all plays out in the long and short. We're lap 6 of 41. Now, this is where you start talking strategy at this stage as they jam on the brakes, line astern in one of these draft trains, trying to find a way through. You start talking about if you're trying to get out into a soft medium sort of race, someone else goes off there. That's Thomas Veek, I think, who's just gone off. Yes, it is. So he drops back down into 15th place. If you want to go soft medium, you're pitching around lap 12 to lap 16 maybe is the right place. Trying to get to lap 20, soft is the best way forward. Maybe even lap 19 you're able to get that one going as Javi Roth looks to try and hound the championship leader Matteo Ugolotti.
Certainly, and strategy is going to be one of those things where if you're going to push, you really need to make sure that you're not overdoing your tyres and not going to burn them up too quickly. You're going to end up struggling. You really are going to have to end up doing a medium soft, which isn't really going to be the most competitive strategy, albeit it might work in some respects, but you certainly still have to look after your tyres. And Javi Roth at the moment currently doing not too bad of a job of it, just sitting and patiently waiting for the move to happen on Ugolotti. He's got DRS once again, half a second is the gap and closing rapidly on the way down to turn number 1. He's not quite going to be close enough to get the move done though again.
No, not quite there, and Javi Roth has got to be a little bit careful. The closer he gets to Matteo Ugolotti, the more he's going to be struggling on those tyres, Cam. And maybe the issue that we see from Javi Roth in the way that he races, he is a notorious user-upper of the rubber that he has underneath him, and that could be something that Ugolotti is thinking about here in this one. The longer he stays behind, the more tyre he's using up, being caught in the turbulent air.
That's a very, very good point that you've got there because of all the heat that's coming off as well from the exhaust of Ugolotti, and also the fact that there's also not a lot of aero grip happening with Javi Roth as well, with the fact that there's all that turbulent air as well. So certainly is going to want to try keeping behind, well, Ugolotti's going to want to try and at least keep Roth behind him for as long as he possibly can to make sure that those tyres on Roth's car end up burning up as quickly as possible. But we'll have to wait and see because that gap's looking very, very close now, and I'd say there's at least going to be a move in the next lap or so.
Exactly, so Javi Roth will be certainly trying to get himself as close as he possibly can and find himself the opportunity to go through, but at this stage it's not quite happening at this moment in time. Just 0.4 of a second as they cross the stripe and try and make their move towards turns 2, 3 and 4 of Tamburello once again. Nope, not going to find it just yet. It's one of the few tracks you need to be within 0.2 of a second to make happen out on circuit. But look at the run he gets. This could be the chance here at Villeneuve. Decides better against it than to have a quick lunge down the inside. It's not often Ugolotti struggles there out of turn 4, but maybe, just maybe here, Javi Roth, and spinner. It's Luke Dowding there in the NHR Esports car who finds himself in the gravel and now work to do to get back through, and that was all started to bundle itself up and get close, Cam.
Yeah, it certainly was. No contact this time by, but he just clipped the anti-cut curb and just unsettled the rear by the looks of it and managed to send himself into a bit of a 360. He managed to get it pointed back the right way nicely, but he certainly dropped a number of places and is not going to be where he's going to want to be at all the way down the back of the field, really.
And that was the smallest unsettling of the car. You could see the back just step up for about 0.2 of a second there, and just like that, no grip on the tyres. It's always going to snap around. He's down into 17th place here after starting this one in 12th and being up into 8th position at the time of the spin. So everyone promotes up then and gains a couple of places, likes of Bruno Canavas now up into 13th position as well. But everything is starting to stack here behind that driver in 7th place, John Miller the third. And now you've got Weisbeck, who has a chance to maybe come back and have an attack and have an opportunity. DRS flat wide open. Which way do you want to go? You're going to have to go the long road here, David, if you want to make this one happen. It looks like on the outside, he's got that one pretty well done. Black Eagle Racing car up into 7th place, but has to be careful on the exit here to see whether Miller might have an opportunity to attack back. Definitely not close enough for that one just yet, as we are obscured by the trees, but ultimately Weisbeck back to where he belongs in P7.
Very, very good move by Weisbeck to finally get on by. Now Prato is going to be on the tail of Miller as well to try and find a way on by as, so Miller's possibly going to lose a few places here. He's carrying a little bit of front wing damage as well from what I can see, so he might be disadvantaged in the straight line a little bit and is probably going to have to take a new front wing, so he's going to have a longer pit stop as well. So this race is probably going to go from bad to worse for him at this rate.
Absolutely, and of course that front wing is an extra 5 seconds added on at the stop, so an extra 5 seconds is going to be very tough to try and gather back in what is a very, very aggressive mid-pack at this stage. We haven't really talked about those drivers who are in 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th in this one, as Chaviro sets the fastest lap of the race on a 1:18.234. Diogo Oliveira in 3rd, Tapia Markle 4th, and then you got Matt Wood 5th and Jorge Martinez in 6th place. Those drivers are pretty much hoping they've got a good run moving forward, but Pareto in the DRS now looking to try and get this move. Nope, not going to get the inside. It's going to have to be a long road to try and make it happen. That's some great late braking by John Miller III to hold that one off.
He had to look every which way did Pareto, and unfortunately he couldn't quite get the move done in the end, so he's going to have to sit behind Miller for another lap. He's looking like he might launch it up the inside at Tozer, but not going to be close enough to get any overlaps, so still going to have to sit behind.
Absolutely. So the waiting game continues then in this mid-pack scrap. John Miller III looking more backwards more rather than forwards at this moment, as Ugolotti has finally broken through. 1 second clear. The gap now up over 1.2 seconds at this moment, and he'll be very happy with that, matter of fact, as pretty much everybody today qualified on the soft compounded tyre. So the strategy game going to be pretty much the same as we look on forward. There is Pareto trying to still find a way through up into the 8th position here in this race. We are looking at this race being a very, very difficult one-stop strategy for some of these drivers today, as going through this second Ravazza corner. It's about attacking on the exit. That looked like a much better run from Hugo Pareto, and this looks like it's the opportunity he has certainly been waiting for. DRS flat wide open. Here comes the opportunity then try and get himself pretty much through, and it looks like then on the outside that he has gone and done that by a pretty comfortable margin.
He certainly has. He cleared him well before they even got to the kink that is quote-unquote 2-1, so it's very much been an easy move there by Pareto, and he's going to be on the charge for now Weisbeck, who's just up the road, and now Miller's going to have his hands full with Vinen just behind.
Yeah, and that's Emil Stanchu making the move on Jacob Swiderski, jumping up into 11th position in the blue flag racing car. So that's a good jump of position and doing a pretty good job to break away. Now, someone closing in is Jorge Martinez. He is there in 6th position. He's got the gap down now to 7/10 here compared to Matt Wood. We saw him on board earlier on, and you can see he runs very, very wide through that corner and runs into a few troubles trying to bring that vehicle back into perspective. And there was a bit of unhappiness over the radio from Samuli Väyrynen, who was very unhappy there with what happened coming up towards the Variante Alta. We'll catch this on the Motum simulation replay then, and this is how this all ran into a few troubles. Going through Acqua Minerale here, there's big right-hander which breaks into another right-hander. You can see Miller III runs a little bit wide off the exit. This allows the opportunity to attack, and does the door just shut on Samuli Väyrynen? It was contact tyre to tyre, and ultimately it's a skirt across then and a slowdown penalty to boot.
Certainly is, and he's had to serve that, and doesn't look like he's lost too much out of it, but certainly not going to be a happy chappy after that as a result of the contact that probably didn't really need to happen as a result. But you can see there he's still fighting on as hard as he can to try and recover from that loss. He's got Swiderski for company at the moment, does Väyrynen. Oh, that's not ideal for Ronaldo.
That's upside down out of Tamburello corner. And it's very rare that you see that sort of thing happen. We'll take a little look here on who he was battling with. It was Luke Dowding who he was having a scrap with on the brakes, down through on the inside. He got the move done all by himself. So this is unsettling there through turn 3. And then through turn 4, the back just steps off and bang! Up and over, full 180 there, with that as the torque of the wheels helped to flip that one over. Ronaldo Augusto very much out there in the F1 Apps car. We'll take a look on board and see how this one all goes wrong. You can see the back just steps away and up into the tyres and pretty much bang and out of the event.
Certainly a very, very odd situation considering that almost no one's had any sort of oversteer problems there in this race. So not quite sure what's happened there, whether he's been struggling with some tyre wear or possibly a setup issue, but certainly not what he will have wanted at all, and as a result that's going to be a DNF for him. But Miller finally into the lane for his pit stop. Looks like he's going for a medium soft compound strategy to get some front wing damage fixed as well, so he'll be going long from here. Does actually look like he's got softs on though, so going to be possibly doing a 2-stop here, but we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Bruno Canavas around the outside, trying to get through on Thomas Wieck. This one for 11th place on the road, and that is a position pretty much made. They'll fight all the way to Piratella. Wieck's not giving that one up, though, down on the inside, and he just about holds it. It will cost them a bit of time, but ultimately Thomas Wieck is proving that he is a tough cookie to crumble in terms of this overtake. This is a very good run of things. Lap 13 is very early in terms of a pit stop. We've also had one driver come in. Stefan Chantal has moved on to the medium compound, and that's Swiderski and also Thomas Knoll, both in the gravel trap at Acque Minerale. So both of them have gone into each other, it seems, at a very, very awkward moment in time. And just having a look at this, you can see here that is one driver in front missing the rear wing already. So that's Swiderski having an incident earlier on in the lap. And then through they go into Acque Minerale, and Thomas Knoll just tries to find somewhere to go, spooks himself, and they both run into each other.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a weird incident. Not quite sure what Noel was trying to achieve there. I did see them earlier on scrapping, and I was possibly thinking there was going to be an incident happening at some point between that little group.
Well, this is what happened to
Certainly
Swiderski.
did, but this is what happened to Swiderski to lose his rear wing. Coming through the Variante Ultra chicane, gets a little bit loose and then just gets run into the back of.
Absolutely nowhere to go there for Bruno Canavas, I believe it was, who ran into the back of Jakob Swiderski, but as easily done, it wasn't quite good. So Swiderski will take his stop, of course, and in will come Thomas Knoll as well, both trying to get their damages repaired. Now, Matt Wood here is going to find himself in a little bit of a pickle soon if he's not too careful, because Martinez has just been patient, been waiting in terms of this race and trying to just bring himself into a range where he can attack here on lap 14. We're starting to think about the pit stop window coming into play, and something else that's worth keeping in mind right now is second and third position. The gap is down to 1.7 seconds between Xabi Rose and Diogo Oliveira, as that is Thomas Knoll coming out of the pits, I do believe, as we see this battle going down into turn number 2. No dice.
Dice there in the end for Jorge Martinez. He's going to have to sit behind for a little bit longer. Then they've obviously got Thomas Knoll and Stephen Chantal just up behind them, who have pitted obviously with getting it new tyres by the looks of it, being on the mediums too. So they're going to be going for a little bit longer of a run. But Matt Wood certainly holding off the pressure very, very nicely from Martinez at the moment, who's been putting on the pressure for the last few laps now.
Absolutely he has, and well, Jorge has been waiting and waiting and waiting. This is a patience track here at Imola. It's not the easiest place to go and make overtakes. Oh, and there goes Thomas Knoll with a bit of a spin. They're coming out of Acque Minerale. But in terms of great battles, one of the great memories of this Imola circuit, 2005 San Marino Grand Prix, when the legendary Michael Schumacher struggled in his final stint after starting well down the order, couldn't find a way past Fernando Alonso, the proverbial passing of the torch. Now you look at Diogo Oliveira, gap down to 1.5 seconds here against Xabi Rose, and this becomes a case here for Diogo of what do you do and how do you wait. I think Matt Wood may have just dived down into the pits potentially.
It certainly has, by the looks of it. He's decided now's the time to get some new fresh rubber on that car to try and be able to fight against Martinez, who's actually starting to put in some very, very good laps, and now that he's got some clean air, it's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens between those two and who's going to end up coming out ahead once those two both sort out their pit cycles.
Mediums then for Matt Wood. He'll go out then onto the medium compound set of tyres, and hopefully he'll be able to try and run that all the way to the end. He was just a couple of laps short of going soft to make it happen, so that's going to put him on a disadvantaged strategy between now and the end of this race. So that's something maybe Matt Wood has to worry about at this stage. But Diogo Oliveira here has been a pretty decent lap, bit of lap traffic in front of Xabi Rose to try and deal with here on the run into Ravat, so that one is easily dispatched of there, going through the downhill left-hander. But we are now firmly into pit stop cycle. Ugo Lotti's only got 2.1 seconds now here at the front of the field, because Rose and Oliveira are both pushing each other here to try and get as far forward as possible. Oliveira brings the gap down now to what is to a 1.2 seconds, almost 1.3. Oliveira's car is really coming to life in the second half of this first stint.
Certainly is, and he's actually matching the pace of what Ugo Lotti is doing at the moment. He's actually slightly quicker too, so this is going to be very, very fascinating to see what's going to happen here, and whether Oliveira is going to actually maybe gain here on the two ahead and maybe actually take advantage and move past Rose.
Well, They want to get past Rose as quickly as possible. There's Samuli Väyrynen and Emil Stanchu fighting it out for 8th and 9th position. Samuli, we've seen a couple of times here in top split, so to speak, this season at this stage, the 2020-2021 season that we're having right now. But on the brakes through Tosa and up the hill once again, looking to attack. It's not quite there just yet, but within 3/4 tenths of a second, this is where you get interesting dynamics between two drivers racing against each other, because of course you get that undercut strategy coming into play. Whoever pits in earliest, probably in the best place in the short term, but long term, it's whoever pits last.
Yeah, it certainly is in favour of the overcut as Roast decides to come down onto the lane for his pit stop, so slightly earlier than what everyone else around him is doing, so possibly trying to look for an undercut here.
Yep, and that undercut is pretty ideal. Lap 18, he dives down in, or the end of lap 17, start of lap 18. It's going to be a long way on that strategy, but Samuli Väyrynen doing a pretty good job of things at the moment and trying to bring himself into the action. And you get DRS here on the front stretch, looking to try and attack and gain this place. They go past Xabi Rose, who's in the pits. Väyrynen's going to look to the inside here. Stanchu's not going to fight this one, and well, that's wise playing here in the stages of this race so far. No point fighting for a position that you may be able to get back at the stops.
Certainly, it's one thing to fight on track, but if you can get that position back in the stops, it's even more efficient because you're not having to deal with trying to pass them on track. So we'll have to wait and see what happens between these two and who's going to be the victor in the pit stop strategies. But certainly, it's something that's happened.
Yeah, that's Matteo Ugolotti with a huge boat of the back end stepping out there, coming through the Variante Alta. We'll catch this one on board with him. You can't miss him with the blue Doraemon helmet on as he jams on the brakes into the right and the left. He gets up over, and it's this AstroTurf on the exit, which is very difficult. You can see he had full opposite lock there, trying to make sure he settled that out. And in fact, he was so maybe perturbed by the back stepping out, he said, "That's it, I'm not waiting any longer. I'm diving down into the pits."
Certainly has Michael has joined him in the pit lane as well, so starting to see a few more takers onto the lane and probably thinking it's time to get rid of those old tyres. Weisbeck comes down onto the lane as well, but certainly that slide may be just scaring Ugolotti a little bit and thinking that the tyres are maybe at the point of needing a change.
Well, there's Diogo Oliveira, who is currently now your net leader. Now, this is something really interesting. Look at where Markela is in comparison to Ugolotti. That doesn't look like much at all in terms of that one. How on earth has Tapio Markela managed to gain that much time in the stop? He puts himself only a second behind Matteo Ugolotti. That's a power stop.
Certainly was, and Rose has even jumped both of them, so massive gain there for Xabi Rose, and not quite sure how that's actually happened and what's possibly caused, but that's certainly a lot of time that they've gained.
I was looking at Matteo Ugolotti running down the lane. He looked like he was okay, but pit entry, I think, is where Ugolotti gets it all horribly wrong. So let's look a little bit further back then. He goes into Ravazza. Oh, there he goes wrong in Ravazza. Has to take a trip across the gravel. Both bits of gravel can't get it going. There's a bit of rally cross, and well, you need all the tools you can in your Doraemon car trying to get that one going. That was the pass done before the pits then. So effectively on same strategy as Diogo Oliveira, plus the lockup as well. Matteo Ugolotti with an unforced error.
Certainly was an unforced error and all done on his own, so that's not what we expected at all. Oliveira into the lane, the same with Prado, but yeah, what a mistake we would not have expected at all from Ugolotti, and it's certainly mixed this race up quite a bit.
Suddenly got dark, the cloud cover has come over. There is Ugolotti trying to chase down Xabi Rose, your race leader, and Oliveira, who is now in front in terms of the pits. Jorge Martinez is yet to make his stop. He'll be coming in. Matt Wood is in 6th position on the medium compound tyres, but pretty much everybody coming in just before halfway at the end of lap 19 as they all jump up a couple of positions here and there. So effectively net on the road, it's Xabi Rose who leads this one. Diogo Oliveira in 2nd, Matteo Ugolotti 3rd, and Tapio Markela now in 4th position. The top 4 all split by 6 seconds. Is John Pat Kelly yet to stop? He's got Hugo Preto for a bit of company. This is going to be a tall order to defend this one, as Hugo Preto will be desperate to try and get on through and maybe attack a medium compound tyred Matt Wood.
Certainly have some fresh tyres will Prato as well, so the move will be done very, very quickly, and Pat Kelly decides to let them all on by and slot him behind Weisbeck in the end with the fact that he's got old tyres. So not a silly manoeuvre there if he knows he's not going to win the battle regardless, but certainly Prato is going to be on an absolute mission here to try and catch up to those ahead of him.
Absolutely, and that's what we see. Martinez stays out then for a 21st lap around this track. He's done really well on that set of soft compound tyres. There is Markela in 5th position, looking to chase down. He's got that gap just outside of 1 second. You can see no DRS there because he was outside of the 1 second window at the DRS activation point. That's a very, very crucial fact here with this sort of racing. There is a white line on the circuit which marks DRS activation. If you are not within 1 second, you don't get it. It's as simple as that.
So if you're not within that time period, you're not really going to have the chance to try and overtake someone, but you can certainly see there Marquinez jumping right up over the curbs on the way through the Variante chicane. It's one of those things about that chicane is in these cars you can really smash the curbs hard and not really worry too much, although we've seen a few getting caught out a little bit, but he's certainly pushing hard is Marquinez at the moment, trying to not lose too much time, decides to come down onto the lane. Finally, he's going to get held up a little bit as well on the way in.
Yeah, that's not ideal at all. That's Ken Nielsen, who is lap traffic diving down into the pits as well. So Marquinez maybe a little bit balked, not getting the ideal run into pit lane. So Xabi Rose will take control of the race lead. But one thing about sim racing, Cam, which I think is really, really cool, is that you don't have that feel of the car underneath you, which means you can attack the curbs as much as you like. You don't get a sore bum in the morning.
Still back for that matter. So yeah, it's one of those things about doing it virtually is you don't have to worry about the physical limitations of your body when you're smashing over those curbs and getting all four up in the air. And Mike has actually gained here.
He has. He's got the fastest lap of the race, 1:17.911. He now puts himself exactly within a second between himself and Ugolotti, and that will be a little bit concerning for Matteo. They're just behind, who the Italian knows, on home soil, mind you, that this is a race that he now has to fight hard to get back in. The top three split by 3 seconds at this stage, evenly split at a 1.5 seconds. And Matt Wood here has leapfrogged Jorge Marquinez in the stops, but crucially, it's now mediums, which are a little bit worn in right now, against that soft compound, which is incredibly fresh.
Certainly, and I'd say those soft tyres are really going to come to life in the next few laps or so when they've got some heat into them. So going to be very, very interesting to see what happens here. But I'd say it's a fair guess that Marquinez is going to be the one with the advantage come the end of the race, especially.
Yeah, he definitely wants to be aggressive here on this outlap and onto his first flyer then in the second half of the race. And being aggressive now will certainly be one thing, but you can't afford to be too aggressive pent up behind other drivers. You won't be able to get that chance to go away. Now Xabi Rose here, 1.4 seconds he's got in terms of a gap right now, and Ugolotti's brought that gap down 2.7 seconds in terms of that battle. So the top three all converging in on each other, and now Xabi Rose is going to be hoping that Diogo Oliveira makes life very difficult for Ugolotti to make an overtake here. The top four split by 4 seconds and all trying to get within a range to go out there and attack. These are your battlers for the race win and the podium.
Certainly, and it's going to be a real challenge to try and catch Xabi Rose at this stage for a few of these drivers. Oliveira is probably the best one who could do it at this stage. He was actually 4 tenths quicker last time by compared to Rose, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And Ugolotti was even quicker, over a second. So this is going to be very, very fiercely fought between the top four especially.
And you feel around a circuit like this is one of the few tracks where you can say it is maybe a little bit more beneficial to be at the front of the pack or rather than second or third. It's one of these tracks, and this is part of it. It was always very difficult back in the day to make overtakes around here, and they recreated the final section, actually took out the Variante Bassa around this layout, which of course the Southpaw Racer did a fantastic video on in terms of a retrospective of Imola and what it's done throughout sim racing and in racing in general, as we look at Prato under pressure from John Miller III, who's actually jumped back through on Weisbeck in the stops and is now looking to get 7th place. But really, this is where you start finding overtakes, as that is Marquinez going through on Wood, then moving up into 5th place. As we look backwards, John Miller III taking the road on the high side. Oh, there's the contact, 2 into 1, not going. bingo for Weisbeck, who moves up into 7th, and Prato can feel unlucky.
He certainly can, and not what he will have wanted at all. He'll be very, very disappointed as a result of that contact. It was just the ever so slightest wheel-to-wheel contact as a result, which you do get in these open wheelers, unfortunately. So not going to be what he will have wanted at all, but we'll get a motor simulation replay on the way down towards turn number 1. You can see side by side, and just the ever so slight contact happens in the way and around.
Where's John Miller supposed to go? That's the key there with that incident there. Hugo Prato taking his natural racing line, and effectively it was either you back out or we cause an incident, and that is we cause an incident right there. Gap at the front is down to now just 3/4 of a second. Diogo Oliveira, 1:17.856. Sets the fastest lap of the race, and what will be very entertaining here in the final stage is that Oliveira knows how to make the soft tyre last, which will be worrying for Ugolotti, who clearly struggled in the final stages on his soft compounded tyres and needs to make moves quickly, whereas you look right now at Xabi Rose, who's notorious for not having tyres at the end of races.
It's certainly going to be one of those races where it's going to be the hare versus the rabbit, the hare versus the tortoise, sorry, and that who's going to be able to look after their tyres the best and who's going to want to not push as hard to try and make them last too. So we'll have to wait and see, but it's certainly starting to get to crunch time, and I think Rose is really going to need to start thinking about tyres, or he's really going to struggle in the next few laps.
Exactly, but one of the big keys is that you have that advantage of being at the front cleaner air, which means that you don't have to worry too much about the tyres on this run. We've got ourselves, when they cross the line, 16 laps to go around this place, but look at Ugolotti. He's brought his gap down to 0.6 of a second, and suddenly the top 3 are going to be tripping all over each other at this stage. Tapio Markela is 2.5 seconds back at this stage, unable to carry the same sort of pace that these top 3 are able to do at the moment. 1:17.828. Ugolotti goes purple because he wants to get back to position number 1 on home soil.
Yeah, certainly does, and he's certainly making good work of it by putting down purple sectors and purple laps as well in these at this current stage. So we have to see if he can find a way on by the next 2 ahead of him and whether he can get himself back into the lead of this race. But it's certainly going to be plenty of racing to go, so he doesn't want to burn up those tyres too quickly, but he certainly wants to get a move on, that's for sure.
And that move on is going to be very key. The gap now down to just 0.4 of a second then for these top 3. There is Markela in 4th position, unable to carry that similar sort of pace that the front 3 have been doing at this stage. And then you've got Martinez in 5th position, but look at Ugolotti all over the back. Big slide there, opposite lock from Ugolotti, who had to check up there through the Variante Alta, was going to be worried there that there was going to be a bit of contact. The sun comes out, not tomorrow, but today. Missed apex there from Oliveira. He's feeling the pressure right now, and suddenly, front stretch, he's outside of 1 second here is Oliveira. Ugolotti's got the prime chance to make this move in towards turn number 1. Watch how the DRS comes into play. Which way do you want to go? Inside. I know I'm beaten, says Diogo Oliveira, and it's the Doraemon helmeted driver who moves up into 2nd place.
So an absolute textbook move there by Ugolotti to move back into the top 2. Now he's going to be on the hunt for Xabi Rose, who's just up the road, ran a 17.9 last time by compared to an 18.0 that Ugolotti did. Obviously had to get past and was stuck in traffic, but certainly it's going to be a matter of time before Rose is going to lose this lead, and they're coming up on lap traffic as well, so it's another thing they're going to have to bear in mind is getting through that swiftly.
Yeah, John Miller III comes in for his 2nd stop. Remember, he pitted lap 13. He committed to this. 13, 13 and 15 is in terms of his stop length. So he'll be looking to try and get through. It was very much smoky on the brakes there as well, trying to get it sorted out. But for the moment at least, now Oliveira is hoping that Ugolotti can just drag him along. Xabi Rose leads this one, but look at this. 2 bits of lap traffic. It brings Ugolotti right on the fringes of 1 second here, going through the second Ravazza, and in fact inside 1 second. Now we'll definitely get that drag reduction system working here, and actually won't because the activation line is just before Ravazza, so he was just on the outside looking in. Xabi Rose will be getting DRS, then going past Thomas Knoll, who is the lap traffic, and this is getting a little bit awkward right now because Ugolotti can't take too long. In fact, they moves to the outside, does Thomas Knoll, and through will go the likes of Oliveira as well. This is where it gets interesting here because they're not fighting just against themselves. They're fighting effectively like swimming up tide like a salmon upstream.
Certainly are, and it's going to be a very, very tall order at the moment to try and fight that head-on stream as well. So it's going to be a matter of just trying to work around the situation that they can and make sure they look after those tyres to not burn them up too early, especially for someone like Ugolotti who's trying everything he can at the moment, being aggressive over curbs, using all the track that he can to not burn up those tyres too much so that he can have something to fight with when he gets to Roast. Roast runs a little bit deep through the Variante. Alta gets a little bit crossed up as well. So they're really pushing the limits here and really trying to make sure that they get who's going to win.
Exactly, and they know that time is on the side of the driver in third place. Diogo Oliveira, who will be coming back into his own later on in the stint. We've seen that in stint number 1, but here in the second stint, the second half of the race, this is where it gets key. Look at the draft that Ugolotti's getting. He moves himself within a third of a second here, going through the opening couple of corners. Now remember, Xabi Rose pitted in about 3 or 4 laps before both of these drivers in front, trying to make the soft compound tyre work. That's going to be a little bit awkward late on here for Xabi Rose. He last pitted 11 laps ago on lap 18 of the race, and now he knows better than anybody else he's on the oldest tyres of anybody in this battle. If he's going to try and make himself win, he's going to have to do so making sure that he is really mindful of that tyre wear.
Certainly, it's just going to need to be very, very smooth and make sure that he's not making any mistakes and overdriving the tyre at all, or he's going to end up suffering massively at the end of this race and is going to lose the lead as a result of it. So he really just needs to be nice and smooth and just focus on putting in some nice, clean, consistent laps.
If you can continue to work at a rate of gaining 4 tenths around the circuit and then losing those 3 tenths on the front stretch, you'll be okay. And that's the focus that he'll be having here, just making sure he's maximising the fact that he has the clean air advantage as he goes through to start the 30th lap of 41. Just 12 laps remaining here at Autodromo Internazionale. Enzo e Dino Ferrari here as the top 3 all scrap it out for this race victory, and this has many, many reminders of something that has happened as a part of iRacing history, that very famous battle that the likes of Martin Kroenke had around here, where he had to take to a little escape there at turn 2, 3, 4 Tamburello. Look at Oliveira right back on the wing.
Certainly right in this battle now is Oliveira, and he's on the wing of Ugolotti, bear in mind. So he's really using those tyres to his advantage. He's been patient. He did an 18.1 last time by about a 10th quicker than Ugolotti. And Javi Rosa's lap times haven't counted for the past 2 laps. Does he have a penalty?
Well, that's a little bit concerning if he does have a penalty to try and get through. He had exactly the same thing happen lap 12 and lap 13 of the race, and he came down into the pits then just a little bit later on lap 17. So for Xabi Rose, it's not the thing that we've been seeing well, it has been something we've seen before. It might just be an issue that he is having connection-wise in terms of registering laps. So we'll keep that in mind here from Xabi Rose as he will cross over the start-finish line. We'll look and see what this time is. We'll look through all the sectors. He does a 1:17.9 over the line, and it does count this time. So hold your breath. He's not got a penalty like he did last season at Montreal, the circuit Gilles Villeneuve. So he's doing okay at the moment. Ugolotti brings himself back within that 1 second window, and that is his defence against Diogo Oliveira, who will have to try and get through a car that also has the same advantage as him on the front stretch.
Certainly. So it's really starting to close up, and as a result, it's starting to get to that point where they're kind of starting to hit a stalemate in all their tyre life, with one obviously having very, very old tyre life at the front and clean air, but the rest behind with newer tyres stuck with dirty air.
Exactly, and that's the key. Dirty air is stopping Diogo Oliveira right now as these gaps 6 tenths apiece. as they charge up the hill towards the Variante Alta, a formerly scary chicane which was taken at near flat out almost, and now you can see what it's become. It's become a very tight and difficult section, and look at how Xabi Rose struggled through that corner. It's brought Ugolotti within a single tenth of a second. Traffic moves off on the right-hand side, gets out of the way very, very dramatically, but Rose trying to get away. Ugolotti will now get the DRS and will now get a chance to take back the race lead once more. Which way is he going to go? He's going to have to go to the outside if he wants to make this one happen. Rose has got to try and keep in this one and try and attack this one late on the brakes, but sweeping around the outside goes Matteo Ugolotti. He picks up the race lead quite nicely, but the chance is coming back again here from Xabi Rose, who will want to be as aggressive as possible now against Matteo Ugolotti because he's got nothing left to lose.
It certainly doesn't, and looked like he might have been able to get a move done at Tosa, but just didn't quite get the run out of the corner, and as a result, he's starting to struggle by the looks of it on those tyres, and Oliveira's just sitting in the background waiting patiently for those tyres to really drop off before he can truly attack. But with that move that Ugolotti's now made, he's home free pretty much and just needs to start driving away.
Not yet, but he's got to make sure he's got at least half a second here moving in towards the next lap. He's got half a second right now, and Xabi Rose there just struggles a little bit there on entry, moving in towards the Variante Alta. He drops another tenth of a second and all of a sudden picks it back up on the exit again and tries to bring himself within a range on the brakes into the left-hand bend then of the two Ravazza corners. He'll want to be aggressive and attack pretty quickly afterwards, and he's looking quite nice to do so at this stage. Watch as this will come back to him here as Oliveira is 4/10 of a second back. He'll have eyes on all of this, and this is the power of DRS and that slipstream, because he brings himself back within 3/10 of a second trying to attack, and suddenly Ugolotti needs to find his best laps in this race all of a sudden, because Oliveira's there as well, and he is definitely not going to be one patient for waiting.
He's going to want to wait around, especially with those fresh tyres that he's got on that car. So he's going to want to push hard, and he's going to want to use them to his advantage, but not burn them up at the same time. So he's really just got to keep doing what he's doing. And if he can get within that DRS range, he'll have a really, really good shot at it. But Avaros is not letting this one get away from him. He's really pushing hard and is really making Ugolotti work for it, especially through the second sector where all the tight stuff gets a little bit squirrely on the throttle, but certainly he's making him work for it hard.
He's not going to get the chance now into the Variante Alta. It's not really an overtaking opportunity, and he gets a little bit square through the corner, and that allows Oliveira to really close on in. The gap 1/10 of a second. Does he lunge for the inside here at Ravazza? Oh, he's so late on the brakes, and he actually locks up and runs wide. Oliveira runs wide into the grass and spins the car around, so Markela will move up into the podium. Oliveira thought he had the opportunity, eyes bigger than the belly, and spooked himself out of a podium position. Now Xabi Rose has himself one-on-one, hand-to-hand, mano-a-mano with one Mr. Matteo Ugolotti.
It's certainly going to take a lot of pressure off Rose, or just touching the grass there was Rose on the exit of the Tamburello chicane. He's very aggressive over the curbs, is Rose, but just can't quite seem to get the drive towards Tosa. But certainly that second sector is a strong point. You can see he's struggling to get the power down as much as he can, just getting slightly sideways every single time, and that's not going to be helping him at all, but he's trying everything he can to keep up.
He certainly is. Doing a stellar job of this at the moment, and Xabi Rose knows it is this one corner. Again, he struggles up the hill out of Acqua Minerale, and that's going to bring him into a little bit of a range again. He's just going to be aggressive now here in terms of these final stages. He knows he's got nothing to lose. He's in second position right now, and you can't afford to let Ugolotti pile up too many wins in this championship. We're round 3 already. If you give him 2 of the highest strength of field victories in the second place, when you struggled last time out, of course, at Motegi, Xabi Rose is going to be putting points on the table, which will be very hard to try and recover back. The gap now up to 7/10 of a second, and there are other battles as well here, Cam, out on track. V Constantiu, 1 second between them and starting to just extend a little bit, and then you've got the recovering John Miller III, who's got 8 seconds to Ray Griffioet.
Certainly, and that battle between Stanciu and also Veek has really been going on for quite a few laps now, and looks like It's probably going to be in favor of Veek at this point with how much he's starting to pull away, but certainly it's not over through the field, but at the front of the field, it's still going on, and there's just nothing in it between these two. They're trading lap times every single lap. It was in favor of it, Ugolotti, that last time by, but Rose is definitely making him work for it hard, and they're both just pushing each other to the limit.
Well, speaking of limit, that would have been a 1x off-track incident point there for Chabby Rose, pushing wide there through Piratella. I think he's putting everything on the table, using all of his wiles to his advantage. And right now, it almost looks like here, Cam, that it's the likes of a high downforce setup compared to maybe a medium downforce from Ugolotti. Chabby Rose is so good in the middle sector, which is all about downforce, but when it comes to this front stretch, he gets only a couple of tenths of a second of advantage when the DRS comes into play, as he struggles once again in that dirty air, and now will drop the second, you would feel, at this moment in time, which will be a little bit concerning. 1.1 doesn't get the DRS flat working to his advantage. He now all of a sudden finds himself pushing too hard on a setup which does not like being behind another car.
Certainly, I did actually have to wonder if he maybe was thinking about doing a second stop there with when he was coming through by the pit entry, but yeah, that was a really, really weird moment. But regardless, he's certainly really having to deal with some old tyres now that we're very late in the race, and as a result, he's starting to really show that he's struggling with those tyres to try and make it work, getting another off track there, trying to make the thing work, but just isn't able to do it.
He's trying to use all the tyre life as if it was effectively fresh out of the box, but it's had a few dings and scrapes, so to speak, in terms of the tyres, and there'll be thousands of miniature cuts on that tyre where it's all been about attacking and trying to get into range, and Chabby Rose is desperately trying to stay within 1 second and not run into mistakes, which we have seen. Keep an eye on this Ravazza section. He made a mistake here last time. Again, correction on the curb, the back wanting to step out there where it loses. In fact, he can't go any further. Has to pit on the set of tyres because it's just effectively going to go pop. He's hit the cliff.
Certainly has, and he's pushed hard for as long as he can, but unfortunately he's hit that cliff, and that's pretty much game over, unfortunately, for Harvey Rose. He's going to end up dropping well down the order. He's I'd say he's probably going to drop to just about 6th or 7th.
Well, Matt Wood's going to be interesting to look at. Ugolotti's now got 5 seconds. It would be also a drive-through penalty. So this will be for incidents here for how much he's been track extending out here on circuit. So a drive-through penalty. It's so easy to accrue incidents here at Imola. That's 17 for a drive-through. He now only has 8 to play within the final 4 laps.
Certainly does, and 8's not a lot when you actually think about it. I mean, there's not many laps to go, but certainly 8 is very, very easy to rack up around here, especially when you're pushing as hard as he was. So not what he will have wanted at all, and that's an absolute massive race changer because now that's put Markela up in the second, Oliveira into the podium.
Race changer. Let's talk round 3 of the championship. This is already a title changer right now, so that gives him something that really, really hurts. It gives Ugolotti a huge buffer zone at the top of the championship. Markela in second, and we are down now to the final 4 laps then in this race. Ugolotti leading by 5.4 over Tapio Markela, and Diogo Oliveira a little bit further behind. Now Luke Dowding here has closed right in on Emil Stanchu, who's been really struggling here over the course of this one. Has dropped 4 seconds to Thomas Veek. Haven't quite seen what's happened there, but Stanchu all of a sudden is trying to desperately bring the Blue Flag Racing car home into the top 10. Luke Dowding wants NHR Esports there.
Oh, that's a mistake.
Markela's had a moment.
Yeah, it certainly is.
Let's have a look, as this is going to be Tapio Markela in all sorts of trouble. Now, I'm wondering if this is going to be Ravazza, where the troubles all brew up, and he was all on his own, no pressure at all, 5 seconds in front, 5 seconds behind. Tapio Markela here has gone and lost second position only for the time being, gets himself going through. Is it this final corner where it all starts to go wrong on the exit? Oh, he just grabbed the gravel, and he's only just glanced it into the tyres. He is lucky it's not anything more than a glance.
Yeah, but he just had an even bigger moment on the way through the variant to Ultra Chicane, getting massive amounts of airtime to the point where we thought he was on the SpaceX program.
Wow, that's a lot of air. If Tapio Markler is trying everything, we'll have a little look at this one as well. Here brought to you by Motum Simulation. You can get yourself anything that you need from them in terms of sim racing apparatus. But this is the battle then going through. You can see, oh, that's a huge amount of curb. It's almost like he's caught the underside, that little bit of a wooden plank that is there to measure how much is rubbed away over the course of a race to deal with ride heights. He's just caught, he just catches the inside, bang, up in the air, and he loses a boatload of time, and that would have scared him.
Well, it certainly would have. I have to wonder if it's maybe even done some possible damage as well, but I've seen a lot of aggressive driving over that curb, and I don't think anyone's hit it to the point where they've ended up in that sort of a situation, especially when we've seen people getting up four wheels off the deck.
Sanchez come out of the pits. He pitted for tyres. He now finds himself in 20th position, fighting with John Pat Kelly and I believe Galen Dimov as well, his own teammate here for these positions. That is actually Marquez just behind, trying to get through on both of these drivers. They have the right and entitlement to fight, but the question's going to be, when are you going to let me go? I'm going to decide I want to battle with you right now and give myself the best opportunity. That is Marquez in 4th position, and there behind that, that is Bruno Canavas here in the F1 Apps car. He is trying to get as close as possible to Samuli Veiranen here, trying to find 11th place late on.
It certainly is, and it's going to be a very late race pass, but he's certainly still trying his best to catch up to those ahead and recover some positions after what's been a little bit of a mediocre race from, although he's been a quiet achiever. He's not done too bad to still move up the order from 18th on the grid, so he's going to be doing all right for himself, but certainly is going to be having a bit of a hard time getting not too bad of a run there. He got a little bit loose, though, on the way through.
Yeah, he certainly did, but he's running out of laps now. They're down to 2 when they cross the start-finish line, and your race leader here is 8 seconds clear. This is Xabi Rose, though, and he's under pressure because that's David Weisbeck, who's thinking about 6th place, and we've got to remember, Xabi Rose is going to be pretty much nursing the car around, trying to not pick up incident points because he knows disqualification. That's a big fat 0 that you get against your scorecard if you get disqualified at any point during a race in the iRacing Championships. Weisbeck just wants P6 and wants it quickly.
Certainly wants it quickly, and it's going to be time running out for him because he needs to make the move pretty much this lap if he wants to make sure it's secured. But Harvey Rose is going to be looking, he's going to look up to the inside of Harvey Rose, who's actually going to let him on by.
Yeah, Xabi Rose loses the place. Weisbeck up into 6th, but look at the drive that Xabi's going to get on the exit here. He's going to try and attack. We have started the final lap of this race. It's on for 6th place here as we get towards the end of this one. And didn't we say, ladies and gentlemen, that it brings everything? Rose runs wide, and there goes the opportunity there. Weisbeck will be able to scamper away on the front stretch. The DRS will come up and help. There is John Miller III. He's brought down 8 seconds in the last 6 laps of this race to get to Ray Griffioen in 13th place. Griffioen is under pressure. He's teammates with Kent Nielsen, and he'll be looking to try and find a way through. He's not going to get it just yet, but he'll wait for the best opportunity possible. That's the front stretch where he'll be looking to attack. Now watch as the DRS will go open. This is about as easy as going into the book of tricks. You find the DRS, you find yourself behind by a couple tenths, and now you have to do it the long way around at turn number 1. But Griffioen, look at that top speed he's got. He's running low downforce. Try and go around the outside. He's overshot it, though. He's over the anti-cut curves, and that's Griffioen doing well. But there is Ugolotti crossing the line and picking up the win. Hard fought after his mistakes coming onto the lane. It'll be 2nd position to the line for Diogo Oliveira, and then rounding out the podium will be Tapio Markela, who will be a little bit sheepish after losing that position number 2. Krato's not giving this one up, though. He's got Xabi Rose for a bit of company. He's run a little bit wide, coming off the exit, struggling with the tyres, and Rose, oh, nothing you can do there. Through goes Hugo Prato, but he'll dive back down the inside. He can't stop it at all. He goes skating into the gravel, and that is pretty much that for Xabi Rose on what has been a very disappointing day for him after so much promise. He's now 9th. He loses out to pit. He loses the whole car, in fact, entirely. Goes around, and it looks like the tyre just popped at him in the final stages, and this will be getting him really close to DQ. And in fact, I'm not sure he's going to be able to bring that over. I think he just got disqualified.
Certainly, I think he got disqualified, but he
got around.
Yeah, he certainly has, actually.
So, drama off of the exit there. Chabby Rose in all sorts of trouble. The tyre let go for Chabby Rose. Luke Dowding has had his own issue as well. Break it all down. Motorhome Simulation, this is what it's here for. So Chabby Rose also pretty much pops the tyre right there, right now, trying to put the power down on the exit. You can see he's really soaring away at the wheel. There it goes, going through that left-hand bend, and as he grabs the brakes, oh wait, I don't have a tyre anymore. Oh, that's an issue, isn't it? I've now got to try and grab myself away through. Out there in the gravel, trying to save it, and then once he's trying to get himself back onto the power and get anything going through the car, it's not going to work. He's got no traction to work with. There's the up and over, and I want to look at Luke Dowding, see what happens to him in the final corners, because he has his own moment here, I think, away from all of that. So if it's possible, we could potentially have a little look at Luke Dowding, but I'm not sure that we are going to be able to get that. In fact, we will right now. This is going to be a little bit of a wait, about half a lap here, Cam, but Luke Dowding was having a pretty good recovery drive.
Yeah, certainly was having a pretty good recovery drive for himself, considering what has happened in the race for him. But we'll have a look at and see what happens coming through the Aquaminerale part of the circuit. It's been all right, but then he's got through to the variant Alta, and something's happened to him which hasn't gone very, very well for him. And then he's obviously got down to the final two corners as well and had something happen. So we'll have a look and see what happens, and it wasn't too ideal, and it looks like it might have just been a matter of just keeping the throttle too much.
Well, we'll see. Goes through the final corner here. The back was never settled as he went on through the final corner, had his own little spin, had to hit the brakes because Canavas and co. Väyrynen there, very lucky that he managed to find the very striking liveried McLaren MP430, and he drops back down then to 13th position. Lucky for some, unlucky for Luke Dowding to finish there in position number 13. But let's get confirmation of result then on your screen for you. These are official. There is no way that these results are going to be changed as they finish, and they end up like this. Matteo Ugolotti will pick up his second race win of the season here on SimSpeed TV, and he does so by a margin of 7.9 seconds over Diogo Oliveira, who finishes off in second place. Tapio Markela will come home with third, and Jorge Martinez in fourth position. A quiet drive from Jorge, but he'll be very, very excited with that result. Matt Wood gets position number 5 on the medium compound tyre. He did very well to actually come home with 5th place, with David Weisbeck in 6th and Hugo Preto picking up 7th come the end. Thomas Wieck will get promoted up into 8th place, with Bruno Canavas there for the F1 Apps team there in 9th position, and it's Samuli Väyrynen who rounds out the top 10.
Ray Griffin coming home at just outside the top 10 and 11th. A very, very good drive for him from 21st on the grid. John Miller is going to be in 12th, with Luke Dowding, the final driver, on the lead lap, coming in 13th. Harvey Rose ends up being classified in 14th after that, what happened on the last lap. And then you're going to have Klaus Semitz running out the top 15. Pablo Rodriguez in 16th. Emil Stanchu in 17th. 18th to Stephen Chantal and John Pat Kelly in Galen Dimov rounding out the top 20. And then Kent Nielsen and Thomas Knoll rounding out the finishers, with Swiderski and Augusto being DNFs.
We saw a couple of drivers there at the back try and make something happen. Pablo Rodriguez, I do believe, started from pit lane here today to try and get himself over the line, but the battles are always key. We head to the home of British motorsport, though, for the next round of the championship. It will be in 1 week's time, and it will be at the Silverstone circuit. It's definitely going to be one to keep an eye out on. Cam, it's truly a classic when we head to Silverstone. It's had many iterations, many changes, but this one, of course, they will be battling on the freshly named Hamilton Straight.
Certainly will be some hopefully very, very good battles, and Taiwan is going to be the big talking point there, with it being such a high wear track. But certainly we have to wait and see what happens as to who's going to do what and who's going to come away with the win.
And we can only find that out in 1 week's time here on SimSpeed TV. If you haven't already, you can like, you can share, you can subscribe for more amazing content. We have a whole range of things. Of course, back when we used to be called V8s Online, we do a whole lot of V8s content here around this. And of course, we've got the likes of so much more that comes on through here. We do dirt oval stuff. We've got so much that's on the horizon. And of course, I do believe we've got a 12-hour coming up in the not too distant future. But a massive thanks to those who get it done for us, to Motum Simulations, who have been on the replays, to Jay Kennedy on the cameras, who is fueled by coffee. You've got, of course, Cam Dance alongside me, and myself, Jake Sperry. Ugolotti had to put the hard yards in to try and pick up that victory. He didn't make anything more than what it needed to be. He had to work hard, he had to battle, he had to put the hard yards in, and on virtual soil, he will pick up his championship lead even further. Chabiros will learn from this one. It's another mistake that will cost him a lot of places in terms of championship points. But now it's all about gather and recuperate. Silverstone in 1 week's time, and the home of British motorsport knows that it's one that has seen everything and then some.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now. He's got traction. He's going the outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my God. Oh, big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys I want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no. That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.